الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا والسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. All praise is due to Allah. We praise Him, we beseech Him, and we seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves. Whomsoever Allah, the glorified and the exalted, guides, then none can misguide them. And whomsoever Allah, the glorified and the exalted, misguides, then none can guide that person aright. I bear witness and I publicly testify that none has the right to be worshipped in truth but Allah, and that Muhammad ibn Abdullah is his slave and his messenger to proceed. Last week we began the chapter of Al-Ain, the evil eye, and Alhamdulillah we looked at its definition, but as usual we will recap, as it's important to go over what you've done before in order to set the context for what you're about to do. So we said that the ayn first and foremost is the haqq, that it's truth. And very interestingly, the Pew Research Foundation, I think they're called, they're an organization that does research in different groups, different organizations across American society. They put out a very shocking statistic. The shocking statistic is that they interviewed Muslims in America, and they found that, if I'm right, 13% hold that it's not important to believe in God to be Muslim. Another 21% hold that it's not important to necessarily follow the Sunnah or the traditions to be a Muslim. That's shocking. And you can also see now the appeal of the extremist groups. If you have a foundation, the extremist groups find it very difficult to penetrate those communities that have an Islamic foundation and have a tradition of scholarship. As a Salafi, someone who ascribes to the way the first 3 generations of Islam, if somebody came to me and said to me, is there jihad in such and such a country, my automatic response will be to call somebody of knowledge, one of my elders and my seniors, and ask them that question. If I'm somebody, I have no tradition, no scholars, then automatically I may accept what that person is saying. And so it's very important to, and that's something I've campaigned for a long time, that we ground our young people in Islamic knowledge. Then they will have the tools to distinguish what is truth and what is falsehood, especially by those individuals and groups that want to misguide them and lead them astray. So, al-ayn huwa al-haqq, that the ayn is the truth. We then went on to the statement of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, where he said, it is like an arrow which leaves the heart of the envious towards the one being envied. Sometimes it will hit the target and sometimes it will miss. If it finds him without any armor or protection, it will strike him. However, if it finds him with shields and armor which has no gaps, it will not affect him. It is similar to a real arrow, for one is from the soul and heart, whilst the other is from the body and the limbs. This is a very, very important statement of the great and venerable scholar, that we learn 2 things. One, like an arrow which is dangerous and mortally wounding to the body or to the limbs, so is the evil eye. And in preparing for this lecture, I came across some ahadith. You know, you read so much. If you're an avid reader, which I am, you read so much, and given that I'm not as young as I was before, you forget. But there's one hadith which I will read today that is absolutely shocking for the believer, which I will leave for a moment. Well, so we see from this, one, that as the arrow is mortally wounding to the limbs and the body, so is the evil eye. The evil eye is dangerous, as we will see soon, that it can lead to someone being killed. If not spiritual death, mortal death. Also we learn, and this is something I've been saying ad nauseum, meaning on and on and on, that the du'as and the adhkar formulate a protection for the believer. And righteous living also formulates a protection for the believer, in that the believer, he or she is protected if they have the armor of dhikrullah around them. If you have the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forever on your lips and on your limbs by following the sunnah, then you are protected. When you run away from it, or you move away from it, you've run away from your protection. It is like the person, those people who run away from the sunnah in their lives, it is like somebody in a war and then they drop the AK-47 and run. While the person, the assailant, has an AK-47 and is shooting. Yes? So the person is shooting at you, you've dropped your gun and you've run. What happens to you then? They're going to shoot you in the back, shoot you in the legs. You're a target. Well, if you had the gun in your hand, at least they would be ducking and diving, and they wouldn't be able to have a full frontal attack. However, now you dropped your gun, they're able to attack you. And such is the adhkar and righteous living. And we say this every week. I say this every week, for myself first and foremost, and for the brothers and sisters, that protection from shaitan may necessitate a change in lifestyle. You can't just do one aspect of the deen and leave off everything else. And this is what we tend to do. Muslims may feel sick, they have the evil eye, they have sihr, they go do hijama, they do ruqya, and go back to their homes and listen to Cardi B or 21 Savage. It doesn't work that way. You can't at home live a life of a rap star and then expect ruqya to do ruqya, come back to that lifestyle. It necessitates a total change in your lifestyle. So, we then went on to look at some of the ayat and ahadith and statements of the Salaf in respect to them. What we didn't do, we stopped, we went through 3 verses of the Quran, which I won't repeat now, but I will go through some of the ahadith, and some of the ahadith are scary. Our beloved Prophet told us sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in a hadith that's been narrated by Abu Hurairah, which he says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the evil eye is true. And people may think, why do I go on mentioning these ahadith, mentioning these verses of the Quran to establish the point that magic and evil eye is true? Many Muslims today, and why does he always bang on about having inferiority complex? Am I right? If you are a religious person, you live in a bubble. And that's the reality. You live in a bubble. Most of the people who are my age and older than me, like some of the brothers here, you live in a bubble. Your life is your family. You go to work, you come home, you go shop, you go back home, you go masjid, you go back home. As for interacting with what's happening in the society, it's very limited. Even you reach a level when you get married and you have children, you just about can watch the television. You just about can watch the news. You just about can watch, I know mashallah in the Commonwealth they love cricket, just about catch a cricket match. You just don't have time to interact. Unlike young people who are fully immersed in this society. Our brothers came to me today, he said to me, brother, I want to talk to you about something. He said, you know, in our country, marrying your cousin is okay. And Islam doesn't preach anything against it. However, I noticed people here in this country, and he was referring to his children, that they don't like the idea. And I said, yeah, in Muslim countries, Muslim societies, many people just marry their cousins. It's just easy, simple. And also, marriage, in reality, is the bringing of resources together. In the West, we get it wrong. In the West, marriage is about love. If I don't look at her, and you know, it's like on Snapchat, when I look at her, I'm supposed to see hearts drift from her hair. Or when she looks at me, there's supposed to be like little cupids drifting from my head. You know, cupids around everywhere. If that doesn't happen, then I can't marry the person. In most societies, it doesn't mean you marry somebody you're not attractive to. But there's a recognition that it's about resources. And not just other societies, the royal family. And royal families around the world. Yes? So, this brother came to me and he said to me how about this issue. So I said to him, in this country, marrying your cousin is like marrying your sister in many people's eyes. And I said to him, you have to understand something very important. You're not back home, you're here now. And the way young people see things is very different to back home. You have to work with that reality. It doesn't mean your children won't marry their cousins, but you have to work with them on that reality. The same with our young people. Our young people, they go to schools and colleges where they may not have much Islamic knowledge, and they learn around them about evolution. You learn evolution in physics, you learn about evolution in biology, you learn about evolution in chemistry, and probably many of your teachers who are teaching you believe in evolution. So when it comes to things like magic, the evil eye, one brother, the same brother, he said to me how many people who are educated, very important. Educated means colonized. It doesn't mean to have knowledge. When I was in Saudi Arabia, a man from a particular country, he asked me about hijab. I said, yes, a Muslim woman should wear the hijab. He said, but sir, I thought you were educated. I said, I'm educated, not westernized or colonized. You with me? This is what people feel. So as you get educated, you get your degree, your master's, your PhD. The more you move away from your culture, the more you move away from your traditions, the more you move away from your religion. In fact, for me personally, it's been a total opposite experience. The more I learn, the more I go back into my culture. Yes? So my point here is we go to schools, and if we talk about magic, people may look at you like you're daft, you're bonkers, you're crazy. Though we live in a society which claims to be atheist, and at the same time people believe in ghosts, vampires and werewolves. But you may go, the kids go to school, let me go to school where they don't discuss these things. So it's important for us to show from our religion, like, why don't you eat pork? Why don't you drink alcohol? Those ayat have to be exposed, the kids have to be exposed to them. So they understand it's not just a culture. Because cultures change. Cultures, they change. So it's important to understand this, and that's why I spent some time on it. Our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, seek refuge in Allah from the evil eye, for indeed it is true. On the authority of Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the evil eye is true. And was anything to precede the decree of Allah, it would be the evil eye. And if you are asked to bathe, then do so. We'll talk about the bathing later. The Prophet also told us sallallahu alaihi wasallam, indeed the evil eye can have an effect with the will of Allah upon a man until he ascends a mountain and then falls from it. And I mentioned that last week, am I right? Do you guys remember? Yeah. Why did I mention that? Look into your families and what's happening. Look into your children and see what's happening. Maybe what is happening to ourselves with our illnesses and difficulties is the aim. And in order to cure some of these problems, we may be looking in the wrong direction. What do I mean? Most young kids, and this in fact is something I wanted to talk about, but maybe I'll wait closer to Salah time to talk about it. Most young kids believe it's important to be a gangster, to be cool and accepted by everybody else. You have also a slice of children who just want to be themselves and be geeks as well. Yeah? Just studying, doing the right thing. But many people who feel insecure, want to have friends, you go to college, you go to school, you want to become popular, am I right? In our society we have a craving for fame. I want to be famous. I want people to like me and love me. So, you may find a child, he or she in year 8, year 9, very good, they're listening and everything. All of a sudden they switch. Year 10, year 11, they want to be gangster. So little Muhammad, from having his trousers and his belt around his waist, he starts sagging. Rather than walking normally, he walks as if he has a limp. Always goes around with an afro comb in the center part of his head. Always on his mobile phone, and when you're around, it goes hush hush. You get all kinds of weird smells from him. And you're saying, wait, where's that smell coming from? I don't know, Mum, don't know, Dad. I was on the bus and some guy was smoking something funny. Yeah? This is a reality. These changes, of course, may relate to puberty and the environment. Puberty and the environment. But also it could be the aim, and I'm going to bring something about this soon. So, somebody, and we'll talk about this after this topic, may be jealous of you. Because as you will learn the aim, it doesn't mean that the person sees you and they say something that causes the aim. You could be described to a blind person who has the ability to give the aim, and you can get the aim. I will bring proof for that. So, those du'as are important on your young kids as well, because somebody unknowingly, your kid may be a good kid, and the person may say, why can't you be like Ahmed or so and so? And that's it, the aim comes. Also we learn from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that when he was unwell, Jibreel would read over him and say, in the name of Allah, may you recover, and from all illnesses be cured, and from the evil of the envier when he envies, and from the evil of the one who gives the evil eye. So we see our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam reading du'as, teaching us and protecting himself. What about us? When one of us is ill, what about the du'a for illness? Do we read it? Or is our response to run to the medicine cabinet and pull out the Panadol or the ibuprofen? Or call 999 for the ambulance? These are things that we need to think about, brothers and sisters. So, the evil eye, al-ayn, is of two types. The evil eye, which is from human beings, and the evil eye which comes from the jinn. Two types. Evil eye from humans, and evil eye that comes from the jinns. Both of them have been proven from the Kitab and the Sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ said to Amir ibn Rabi'ah, when he gave the evil eye to Sahal ibn Hanif, over what does one of you kill his brother? And we're going to give the full hadith later on. One Sahabi unknowingly, unwittingly gave the aim to his brother. Another Sahabi. So aim can come from people. As for the second type, it is supported from the hadith of Salima, when the Prophet ﷺ saw a slave girl in her house who had a scar on her face, and said to make ruqya upon her, for she has the evil eye. Make ruqya on her, we'll talk about this a bit later, she has the evil eye. And so, concerning this evil eye from the jinn, Ibn Qutaybah said that it is when the color of the face differs from its ordinary color. Changes. You can see when somebody, by looking at their face, if they're normal or not normal. When you look at somebody who's ill, they may be jaundiced, slightly yellow, for example. And so this is from the symptoms. We'll talk about that later. And so, Shaykh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, he said, from the evil of the envier when he envies includes those from the jinn and mankind. For shaitan and his party are jealous of the believers and that which they have received from blessings of Allah. And the mushriks likewise are jealous of the believers. The mushriks are jealous of the believers. So when someone sees you upon istiqamah, that you're upon righteousness, upon taqwa, are they happy for you? Think about it. Think about it in your daily life. If you were to go to work, and you go to work, mashallah, like you brothers do, you say, no, I don't drink alcohol. When there is, how can I put it, the opposite gender, you stay far away, you don't get into tittle-tattle, you're not alone with them. What do people say about you? Huh? They don't say you're good boy, they like say you're odd one, isn't it? You're the strange one, isn't it? But at the same time they call you strange, aren't they jealous of you? They're jealous of you because you're independent-minded. You don't care what other people think. And what you believe makes you do what they know to be righteous. Isn't it? They know it to be righteous. Just the other day I read in the newspaper by 2020, one of the biggest diseases will be a liver disease. From what? From people drinking. I read again this week, 60% of people in this country use alcohol to relieve their stress. So I had a hard day at work. Where do I go first and foremost? To the pub. If I don't go pub, what happens when I go home? And it worries, isn't it? If I don't go to the pub to get a few pints to relieve me, when I go home, if my dinner is one temperature colder than it should be, I'm kicking off. Isn't it, yeah? If I go, someone's sitting in my chair, my chair that I always sit in, no one's allowed to sit in, what happens? You kick off, isn't it? You people always sitting in my chair, boom, 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 bam, bam, bam. However, if I go to the pub, have a few drinks, it is almost like sedation. You know, when you go to have an operation and you feel nervous, or you go to the dentist, you feel nervous or jittery, they may give you something just to relieve you, to take the tension away, to sedate you. Doesn't necessarily put you to sleep, but it calms you, am I right? Yes? They give you sedation. Could be an injection or by gas. You know, back in the old days, they give you laughing gas, yeah? So when you have the gas, you're just happy. You sit there smiling in the chair as it takes your tooth out, yeah? That's what alcohol does. Now when people see that you are able to function without alcohol, how do they feel? Isn't it? When they see that you don't go around backbiting, how do they feel? You're not sitting with Maisie in purchases, the secretary, try to get things on. How do they feel? Isn't it? That's the reality. They don't see you trying to have an extramarital affair with some guy down in deliveries. How do they feel? You don't come, at work. What happens when you go to work? Everybody's unhappy. Have you noticed that? Everybody, if it's not the weather, if it's not their kids, if it's not their wife, if it's not their husband, if it's not the in-laws, if it's not the leak in the bath or the leak in the roof, everyone's unhappy. You sometimes ask yourself, what are you living for? When they see you now coming to work, how's the kids? Alhamdulillah. And you just get on with life, never complaining except to Allah. How do people feel? They feel jealous, isn't it? They look to themselves and they say, man, this guy's got a good life, man. He's alright. He's doing fine, he's doing well, isn't it? Yes? That's what they think. So this jealousy, brothers and sisters, is something that we have to always be aware of. When people see upon istiqamah, if I'm a robber and you're my best friend, you don't do robberies, am I going to allow you to hang around with me? Am I? Of course not. Because you may grass me up one day and you say, well boy, I didn't do any stealing, isn't it, yeah? But robbers want people who are criminals like them, isn't it? They feel comfortable with people like them. And likewise the believer. The believer should be around people who are into their deen. It's not just an issue of having someone with a Muslim name, Arab name should I say. Not even Muslim names, they're Arab names. Yes? Our names are Arab names. I remember once where I was working, the brother said to me, mashallah, what's the name of your kids? So I told him. He said, you know, I wish you had like, you know, nice Arab names like Reem. Reem means deer. And my children are named after Sahaba. Or the names of Allah. You're telling me Reem is better than Abdullah? You're telling me Reem is better than the names of the mothers of the believers like Zainab and Fatima and Aisha? You're telling me that's better? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I'm not saying you can't name your kids Reem, but I'm saying. So this is the thing, that some, you know, it's not just having a friend who has an Arabic name, but doesn't carry on like a Muslim. As we say, Muslim by name, naughty by nature. It's not enough. And you shouldn't put yourself in that position. Because when you put yourself with those people who are not righteous, the Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the person is upon the religion of his bosom or best friend. Look at that. So you as a young Muslim girl, your friends don't wear hijab. How are you going to wear hijab? You as a young Muslim boy, your friends want to smoke weed. How are you not going to smoke weed? How are you going to be away from all these evils? It's not going to happen. And some of us, we have a Jesus complex. What's a Jesus complex? Does anybody know? SubhanAllah, I trained you guys wrong, man. A Jesus complex, there is a man by the name of Charles Bronson, who's one of the most notorious prisoners in the UK. I don't know if you guys know, but in the 90s he married a Muslim woman. He became Muslim and he married a Muslim woman. I won't say what country she's from. Of course, since then he's left Islam and he's been divorced. And I'm sure this sister, who was probably a volunteer or worked with the prison services, speaking to prisoners, trying to befriend them, trying to talk to them, what happened to her was a Jesus complex. She believed that somehow she had the ability, the power, the karamat, which is like miracle work, to change this man. And so she befriended him and talking to him, got married to him, etc. So a Jesus complex is where you feel you can save the world. Yes? But Allah says, "O you who believe, save yourselves and your families." That's the first port of call. It's hard. Usually your families don't even want to hear. It's hard. Save yourselves first and foremost. And so, with this being said, that people are envious and they are jealous. And this is where this evil eye takes place. And so, how does the evil eye affect the person? First of all, brothers and sisters, we have two extremes in our community. One extreme are those people who are, mashallah, educated, who don't believe in magic, who don't believe in the evil eye. They are educated people, or should I say they're miseducated people. On the other extreme are the superstitious. Who are the superstitious? A cup of water falls down, they go to their knees in tears, it's the aim. Yes? Something breaks in the house, tears start to come out, it's magic. Not saying it is not, but everything is jinn, magic, sihr, aim, etc. And I'm sure you know people like that, yeah? However, the believer understands that the evil eye can never affect him or her except by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if it does, it can affect you. You pray, you fast, do everything, it can affect you. As we said from the beginning, it's ibtila. It's a trial and tribulation, a form of purification. Look at Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. Today, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, do you know, after his passing they had to hide his books. Hide his books and his legacy. It wasn't like after he died, his legacy continued. They had to hide his books and his legacy. But today, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah is mentioned by all spectrum of the Muslims. And his books are being read, his books are being taught. Look at that, Aqidah Wasatiyah. One of the books that got him into trouble is being taught today. Walillahi alhamd. The legacy. My point here, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills that somebody can go through trials and tribulation, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah was put in prison. Did you know that? And not just him, the 4 Imams either were tortured, had to abscond, run away, or they were in prison. The Malikiyah copy Imam Malik, his arms, he was tortured, udhib, such that his arms were dislocated. Can you imagine the pain? Couldn't bring his hands up for salah. In his Muwatta, his collection of hadith, it says clearly to place the hands, the right hand over the left hand on the chest. He prayed with his hands by the side because they're dislocated. And Imam Ahmad rahmatullah alayhum ajma'in, he was beaten because he would not say the Quran was created, and it says he was beaten such that he fell unconscious. Can you imagine that beating? Then when he woke up, beaten again until he fell unconscious. Woke up, beaten again until he fell unconscious. Can you imagine that? That's a type of torture you only see in Hollywood, but it exists. But this was ibtila for him. After coming of the trial, Imam Ahmad is known as the Imam of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, quite rightly. So brothers and sisters, this is, if the ain or magic or something befalls you, is not for you to say, look at me, I pray, I fast, and everything magic befalls me, then become less observant in your religion. No, it's ibtila to purify you, to purify your soul, to make you better, as a test to see how you're going to do. And this only happens with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibn Qayyim, he said, the evil eye is not necessarily the result of seeing something. For something may be described to the one who is blind, and he may affect it, and may many times those who give evil eye do so from description and not seeing. So brothers and sisters, it doesn't have to be described, and later on we'll learn. It's important that we say MashaAllah, for example, because you can give aid to yourself. You can give aid to your children. I know in some countries they curse their children. When they get angry with their kids, they may curse them. Imagine now you say to your son or your daughter, may you be somebody who was a tramp, lying on the streets, drinking alcohol and taking drugs. Imagine that. You say because of such extreme anger. And imagine if Allah accepts that dua of yours. That happens to one of your children. So you have to be careful. And when we see something that somebody has, we should say MashaAllah. And there are other supplications which we'll look at. Concerning this, Ibn Hajar, he said that it confuses some people. How is it possible to give the evil eye from a distance and harm others? How is it I may hear the description of somebody or something they have, and I can give them the evil eye? The answer to this, he says, is that people's natures differ. It could be as a result of the poison which leaves the eye of the envious and reaches the body of the envied. Certain people are known to give the evil eye mention, that when they see something they feel heat emerging from their eyes. So that which leaves the eye of the envious is like an arrow. If this arrow strikes something unprotected, it will affect it. Otherwise, it will miss and may even return to the shooter. It is just like a real arrow. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, Shaykhul Islam, he said, rahmatullah alayh, the evil eye only affects due to the evil soul. It is similar to a snake which can only release its poison if it bites. The evil eye takes the form of hatred, and this hatred brings about a poison which affects others. It can become strong enough to affect others from a single glance. So we have the person who has the ability and capacity for the aim can do so by looking at something, and can do so also from a distance. Here comes an important question, brothers and sisters. How do we protect ourselves from the evil eye? And this is the thing everybody wants to know. How do we protect ourselves from the evil eye? What's the short and simple answer to this? Can somebody tell me? Or before that? Before that? In a comprehensive way. Excellent. Practice Islam. That's the starting point, isn't it? Islam is not academic theory. A lot of knowledge in your head and no practice. Islam is something that you practice. And so by practicing Islam, believe it or not, this may sound flippant, may sound boring, but by practicing Islam, it saves you from a lot of things. For example, if I practice Islam, am I going to go to the pub and sit and have a drink? No. If I practice Islam, if my next door neighbor is outside smoking weed like mine does, are you going to go and talk to him, start talking about his job, and then move on to smoking with him? No. Sounds crazy, it's reality. Shaitan works on you in many ways. How many brothers I know and sisters who said, I'm going to give such and such a person dawah. A good thing or a bad thing? Good thing. Something praised in the religion or not praised? Praised in religion. Something that earns you reward or doesn't earn you reward? Earns you reward. However, that person started off with dawah, and who was watching him? Shaitan. So he didn't take his precautions, and from dawah to zina. Wa'iyadhu billah. Brothers, going to give non-Muslim women dawah. I'm just going to talk to her about Tawheed and about Islam. And next minute, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Why? Because he didn't follow the precautions. The Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that there are not two people together in seclusion, that there is a third. The brother forgot that hadith, went into seclusion. Brother forgot the ayah, forgot that hadith about lowering your gaze. He was crystal balling. You know crystal balling? You look into the crystal ball, deep into the ball. It's crystal balling, looking deep into the eyes. And the Prophet told us that Shaitan runs in the blood of the sons of Adam. Runs in the blood of sons of Adam. Isn't it? Yes? People going to give dawah to their so-called, I hate the term, baby mothers. Sisters going to give dawah to their baby fathers. End up, Allahumma musta'an. Yes? So, if you practice and follow Islam, it keeps you out of these scrapes and situations. If you follow Islam, you would be cautious not to have a blinged out Mercedes Benz. Am I right? Because you're practicing wara. That you are staying, you only take as much as you can of this dunya that you need, yeah? You're going to have a Mercedes Benz all blinged out dashboard with them chrome, what are the chrome rims called, by the way? I've got to find the name of those rims, yeah? So when the car stops, it starts spinning, yeah? You're going to say, No one says you gotta have a rickshaw for a vehicle, yeah? You know what a rickshaw is? A rickshaw. You know, in India, Pakistan, Vietnam, they have a guy, they hold on to you like that, rickshaw, yeah? They hold on to you like that while you're sitting in the back. No one says you gotta have a rickshaw. No. We're not saying that. But you will be careful, and if you have something, you won't go around bragging and boasting to everybody about it, yes? As we see in the culture today. If someone has an X phone, you know they have an X phone. You know, you're talking about something at work and they just pull out their phone. Yeah, I remember somebody got, you know, back in the days of Nokia, I can't remember what phone it was. That phone was like £1,000. So you saw them, they came out on the street like that, just talking to somebody like that. I saw them, yeah, somebody I know very well, yes? Just talking on their phone like that, showing off with their phone. They admitted to me later on that they were kind of showing off, yes? So you would hide what you have, or be careful and selective what you have. So that's Islam. So, from the ways of protecting ourselves, brothers and sisters, is to seek refuge in Allah from the evil of the envious one, and to recite Surah Al-Falaq and Surah Al-Nas. And these are two protectors. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and from the evil of the envier when he envies. In the hadith of Abu Sa'id mentions that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to seek refuge in Allah from the jinn and the evil eye of humans until these two surahs were revealed. Then these became sufficient and all else was left. So it's important to use these two surahs. Secondly, to make dua of blessings. If one sees something he likes, Imam al-Nawawi, he said, it is recommended for the one who sees something he likes to make dua for that person and to say to the person, MashaAllah la quwwata illa billah. This is based on the verse where Allah says, and it was better for you to say when you entered your garden, that which Allah wills will come to pass. There is no power but with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, we see also from the Prophet ﷺ who said, whosoever sees something which amazes him and says that which Allah wills, mashallah, there is no power except with Allah, it will not harm him. He ﷺ also said, if one of you sees something from himself or his wealth which amazes him, let him ask Allah to bless it. Tabriq is asking for blessings, is to say, Barakallah ahsan al-khaliqeen, Allahumma barik fihi. Barakallah ahsan al-khaliqeen. May Allah be blessed, the best of creators, O Allah bless it. These are things we should say. Also, Allahumma barik fihi wa la tudurruhu. O Allah, bless it and do not make it harmful. So these are things we say when we see especially our brothers and sisters with things that appeal to us and that we like, as a means of protecting them from the evil eye. Also, from the ways of protecting oneself is to be patient with the one who inflicts the evil eye, and not to harm him or her. This is due to the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whosoever has retaliated with the like of that which he was made to suffer, and then has again been wronged, Allah will surely help them. Some people we know give the evil eye. We know it. You experience things with them. Even from our own families. When they get angry with you, something negative happens to you. Can happen. Do you now go out and break their necks? No. We seek refuge in Allah from that. Do you go and have a big argument with them? No. But rather you try to be very patient with them and advise them as well. 4. To be good to the one who has been inflicted with the evil eye. This is like the wealthy being good to the poor who are in need of assistance. And this is something which is very, very important. Many times in the morning I see people who are poor. And what is interesting, and I've alluded to this before, many people who sleep on the street seem to have mental health issues. And I don't understand for the life of me why they're allowed to live on the streets. When they're vulnerable people, obviously they can't look after themselves. How do we treat these people? Do we treat them as if they're eyesores? There was a part of England where one local councillor said to ban people who are homeless, make a law to stop them from sleeping on the streets. Do we believe that homeless people love sleeping on the streets? But maybe because of their vulnerability, it is difficult for them to come off the streets, and we need to help them. We are the 10th richest nation in the world. That means we're extremely rich. We have lots of money, which we do. If we are so poor, why do we spend millions upon fireworks on the 1st of January or the 31st of December? Why? Why do we spend so much money for a 2-3 month period with lighting in the high streets? Isn't that money? There's so many things that we find money to spend on, but when it comes to human beings, we seem to be lacking. We never have that money. It's too expensive. So we had money to spend on the Olympic Games, but not money to spend on the people of London. If you were to say, right, let's try to raise 3 billion to take homeless people, wouldn't even take 3 billion off the streets, you'd be hard pressed to raise that money. And I'm sure some people would object to it as well. And so the same with the person who has the evil eye. That we treat that person with compassion and mercy. Because many times people are afflicted, they come to the masjid, nobody wants to pray with them. Nobody wants to stand near them. Nobody wants to be with them. We have to have compassion to those people. Also, to conceal that which a person feels may be in danger of being afflicted with the evil eye. For the evil eye is the yearning of the soul towards that which amazes it. So if a person possesses that which he fears will be envied, he should conceal it and not show it off, especially in front of those who are known to be envious. At the same time, he should know that all what happens is by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says, but they could not thus harm anyone except by Allah's permission. And this also brings us to something I alluded to earlier on. That is reported that Uthman radiallahu anhu, he saw a handsome boy and he said, blacken or darken his cheeks. And this is a practice I know some cultures have. If a child especially is very fair, that is white in colour, they may put a dot here, or dot there, a mark on the cheeks. And some of us may think, why would they do that? By having a spot or a mole on the face seems to take away all of the beauty, isn't it? If somebody doesn't have a mole or a spot on their face, it enhances their beauty. But if you have a spot or a mole, it decreases the beauty. So people do this, possibly following the statement of Uthman radiallahu anhu. Because it can happen to you. So the Muslim is clever, smart, thoughtful, uses hikmah in who you tell your things to and show your things to, and who not to. The Muslim is not a show off. If I got new shoes, yeah, look at these fam. They're Nike Jordans that cost £200. Look at my coat, my Nike coat costs 150. Look at my iPhone. You know, they sit there, they reel through all the things that they have. Yeah, at home I got Xbox, I got a PlayStation 4, in my bedroom I got a 59-inch 4K, that's a high definition TV. I got. Yeah, my dad said when I'm 17, he's going to give me driving lessons and buy me a Mercedes Benz. All these things are good, but you don't need to tell everybody about them. You don't need to sit in a masjid or sit in school or college and blurt out everything you have. Now, this is total opposite to the current culture, isn't it? Walaikum salam. Current culture today, if you got money, what do you do if you got money? I find it absolutely amazing. Think of two of the richest men on this planet today. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. Two multi-millionaires, not billionaires. Yeah? Have you ever seen pictures of them? How do they look?
Smart. Normal.
Middle class Western clothing is always smart. If you're middle class, you're not necessarily going to wear some cut-up jeans, are you? Especially if they're aging generation, you're going to wear trousers, shirt, maybe a jumper, maybe a tie, maybe not a tie. You're going to have smart attire, isn't it? Yeah? The older generation always dress smart. Do you ever see Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, who are multi-millionaires, with a piece of ice, a piece of jewelry like that? Some Jesus piece. You know what Jesus piece is? A chain with the head of Jesus on it. Do you ever see Warren Buffett with a Jesus piece on? And he's got all gold rings here, gold platinum rings there, earrings of gold, 24 karat gold, maybe one in his nose, and to top it all off with some grills. You know what grills are? You know what grills are? Chef? You know what grills are? Grills are like, you put them like dentures, they're teeth. You get me? One of my students said, oh, I want to buy some grills. I said, they're nasty, you look horrible. But they have grills. They have grills where it's all 24 karat gold, and in each tooth there is a diamond. Can you imagine that? But that's what those gaudy rappers do, isn't it? So as soon as they get a little bit of money, the first thing that they kit out, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates will wear Gucci, but it doesn't have the big G on it. They have a little G. So the first thing they do, they get Gucci top with a big G on it. They buy Giorgio Armani trousers with a big Giorgio Armani sign on it. Trying to say, hey, I got money. Then they have the rings, the grills, the earrings, yeah? They bling up. And on top of that, I've not seen it, but I'm sure Warren Buffett, Bill Gates have nice cars. But I'm sure they don't have Ferraris. I'm sure they don't have sports cars. Or a car, when you walk inside, all around you is diamonds. Diamonds on the dashboard. What's it called? The thing to wind up the windows is up. In fact, you don't have those in those cars, is it? You just press the button. So on each button there's a diamond which you press. I'm sure they don't have that. And their wives or girlfriends in a mink fur coat, and she herself is all blinged up. You with me? More diamonds than skin. I'm sure. But that's how some poor people are. And unfortunately, we Muslims, some of us who are lost, that's us. I wish I could say it wasn't, that's us. You can tell a poor person from how they dress. Because they don't dress like Bill Gates, they dress like Warren Buffett, they dress like Travis Scott, one of those rappers. That's how they dress. All chain after chain and everything. That's what they're following. Guy lives in the council estate, he's driving a Ferrari. You hear me? You made the mistake, dude. Take your money to buy a house. Not live on the estate and drive around in a nice car. It doesn't make sense. You know, one of the rappers, I won't mention his name, you know, when you make music, they give you an advance, they give you some money up front. So they gave him something like $200,000. He took $100,000 and spent it on a chain. Now to him, maybe a good investment, because people say, wow, look at him. He's got money. But to me, that's stupid. I would have taken that money and invested it in shares or something, rather than invested it in stupidity. But this is the reality. And some of us, because we follow that lifestyle, that's us. You know, sit and talk to young people. Tell them, okay, if you go to college, you go to university, you get a nice job. with some money, what's the first thing you're going to buy? Or the big dream. What's the big dream? You went to sleep and you woke up a multi-millionaire. Big dream. What's the first 5 things you'd buy? What are the first 5 things you would do? MashaAllah. Yes? For the one person who said buy the masjid, there's another 20 million who would say something else. Yes? And it's interesting. Ask them, what would you buy? I'll buy a Bugatti, I'll buy a Ferrari, I'll buy a Lambo, ice up. Yeah? I'll go to Harrods, spend good thing. You know, you have rappers who make $1 million. Can you imagine $1 million? $1 million. And within a year, they're dead broke, bankrupt. What do you do with that money? You live the unrealistic lifestyle. And so, our young people, you ask them, what do you do with that money? Hajj and Umrah comes like, 20th or 30th on the list. Where those of us who are thinking, if I had the money now, Hajj, all my sins would be forgiven. Nah. Some people are not thinking like that. They're not on that level yet. And so, one of the things you have to do is to be careful with your wealth. Be careful how you and look at that. Take this as a cue today. Just look at rich people, the very rich people, not the glamorous stars, but business people who are multi-millionaires. They're the ones who own the businesses, while the stars make their money. How do they dress? If you go to work, look at your boss. How is your boss? Your boss at work. Is he all blinged up or she all blinged up? Blinged up? No. Sometimes the people working are more blinged up than the boss who makes more money. You're on 20k, your boss is on 60k, your boss doesn't bling up. Doesn't come with a gold diamond earring. Doesn't come with one of those, I forgot what they're called, like a chain going across his neck over his tie. Doesn't have 24 karat gold plated cufflinks. Doesn't have, I can't remember the companies, some shoes that are worth just the shoes alone. What's it called? The red bottom shoes, I forgot them. What are they called now? Louboutins, yes? Look how dumb we are. Astaghfirullah. People will buy shoes. Why do you want to buy shoes? Because the sole, the bottom of the shoes is red. How much you pay for the red bottom shoes? £600-700. If you had any brains, you would have taken some paint and paint the bottom of your shoes red. You would have saved yourself a good £690. Pot of paint is £10, isn't it? But just because the bottom of the shoes is red, you want to spend it. What's those Kanye West Yeezys? How much are Yeezys? £600, am I right? How much? £200. What's the difference between 6 and 2? So people, 250. You just about pay the rent. You can just about pay the gas, electricity. You just about pay your food. You have some young adult wants you to go give them $250 to buy Yeezys. Some shoes made by somebody who said, I sold my soul to the devil, and it was a crappy deal. And then to top it all off, they wear Yeezys for 1, 2, 3 weeks, they come out of fashion, they don't wear them anymore. And so, I say all of this as a reminder to us that the Muslim is somebody who has humility and walks on the earth with humility. And the person will be careful in the things that we do and how we spend our wealth. Because also you're going to be asked about your wealth. You're going to be asked. Buying red bottoms, I don't think is the... I wouldn't like to be Yawm al-Qiyamah with my sins facing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after spending £1,000 in red bottoms. And £1,000 you could have bought, alright, we'll cut some slack. Buy £100 Jordans and give the other 900 to charity. Isn't it? We could have done that. Rather than spending £1,000 on a pair of shoes you know you're only going to wear for a short period of time before you stick them in the closet. And so, another way to protect ourselves, brothers and sisters, is to be cautious of the envious. You've got to be cautious of those people who are around you. Those people who are your friends. The Jamaicans have a fantastic expression. They say red eye. You know your eye, red, for envious people. You have to be careful having envious people around you. Sometimes we choose our friends the same way we choose our shoes, based upon a whim and a fancy. You've got to be careful and strategic who you choose as your friends. Because you don't want people on the same level as you. You want people higher than yourself who aspire to much, both in deen and dunya. If your friends are hobos, what's going to happen to you? You'll be a bum. How many of our friends are hobos? That's the reality. Ask your friends, okay, where do you want to be in 10 years' time? You're asking a difficult question, it seems, to some people. 10 years? 20 years? Whoa! They don't even think beyond 1 week. Many people. They don't even think about tomorrow. You see that mentality. Guy gets £100,000, what does he do? Goes Harrods, buys Giorgio Armani jeans, he buys this, buys chains, kicks his girl out. He ain't thinking about tomorrow. Then you see him next week in the job centre. What happened, man? What happened? Boy, you know. That's his response. Boy, you know. MC Hammer was a big rapper in our days. Became bankrupt. Bankrupt. That's the reality. So you have to be careful of who you're around, not to be around envious people. And even in our families, to be careful. Some of our families are envious because some of our families are dunya motivated. Their minds are on dunya. So if your son or daughter is a doctor, they have to have their sons, two of their sons and two of their daughters are doctors. They're competing in dunya things. If you see that, you have to be careful. 7 is to assist your own soul in fulfilling your needs by being careful, considerate, and secretive. What do I mean? I alluded to this earlier on, brothers and sisters. There is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he told us that if you are planning to do something, then not to tell them, go bragging and boasting to people about your plans. Be selective. Say with us, and I spoke about this at length, you don't go out into the public and moan and groan about your family, for example. My dad doesn't give me pocket money, I don't get this, I don't get that, can't buy Yeezys, can't buy Louboutins, I can't. And our kids, some of our kids love doing that. The standard of deprivation has nothing to do with the essentials. You have food? Yes. You have shelter? Yes. You're clean? Yes. Running water? Yes. Say alhamdulillah. No. If my friends have Louboutins, I gotta have Louboutins. Look at the mentality. If my friends got a Gucci belt, I've got to have a Gucci belt. If my friends wearing Nike, I've got to have Nike. So you go out complaining to people. Sometimes we try to fit in. Am I right? How do we fit in? So everybody at work makes jokes about their husband or their wife. So you fit in, complaining about your wife. They complain, oh, my missus, she wants this, she wants that, she does this, she does that. So you, in order to fit in, because you don't want to be Muhammad, you want to be Mo. Am I right? You want to be Muhammad, you want to be Mo. Yeah? You want to be a new character. You want to be Abdullah, you want to be Abdul. So what do? Yeah, you know, my wife, she's there, she's that. Start giving aim to yourself. Isn't it? Just to fit in. To be like everybody else. Also your plans. You go to work and you blah. Yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're going here, we're going there. Ba, 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 ba. Then you want to know, why are your plans frustrated? Why every time I do something it always goes wrong? It's because your big mouth it always goes wrong. That's why. It should be on a need-to-know basis when it comes to your family. Am I right? Those who need, know. Those who don't need to know. And so you conceal. You don't have to go to work complaining about your husband. You don't have to go to work complaining about your wife. You don't have to go to work complaining about anybody. The believer to Allah, he or she complains. Because ultimately, Allah is the one who can change your situation. Even if you had £1 million, if your husband's stupid, it doesn't change him. If you have £1 million, your husband doesn't change with £1 million, unless you get rid of him, of course. Yes? So your situation doesn't change, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change. The way He changed many people. People who weren't practicing, weren't religious, they became religious, like most of us here. I'm sure those of us who were born Muslims, not everybody, but most of us, it wasn't like we were on the straight, mashallah, path. Praying from the age of puberty till now. I'm sure most of us, many of us fell off the mark. We were out there in the wilderness of the dunya. Allah guided us and helped us to come back on the path. If it wasn't for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, every one of us, ask yourself, if it wasn't for Allah, where would you be today? Some of us in prison. Some of us dead. Some of us in a mental institution. That's the reality. When I left school, it was like half of my year, the males, especially the black males, were in prison. I met somebody, where's so-and-so? Oh yeah, prison. And what about so-and-so? Oh yeah, prison. This guy I knew very well. What about him? Ah, murder. This one prison, drugs, this, that. It's like, what? Almost everybody went to prison. That could have been me. Isn't it? Allah protected me. So by concealing it, only on a need-to-know basis. 8. Another way to protect ourselves, brothers and sisters, is to fear Allah and to keep His commandments. For whoever fears Allah, He will protect him or her and not leave them to others. Allah tells us in the Quran that if you remain patient and become pious, not the least harm will their cunning do to you. If you are righteous, if you are patient, if you have taqwa, no matter what people plan for you will never happen, never transpire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect you. Also, number 9. To be patient against one's enemies and not fight him, complain about him or harm him in any way. One of the things, especially young people today, they have this kind of thing where they got to always defend themselves. Someone says something to them, I've got to defend myself. Even if the person in authority, you don't need to do that. It doesn't mean because someone doesn't like you, you've got to be bad to them. We have lost this thing of the better one. Young people don't understand the being the better one. So what happens? If I'm walking down the road, some guy looks at me bad. What do I do? What's my response? They cut their eye at you. What do? You cut your eye at them, isn't it? Or if they cut their eye at you, hey, what's up, fam? You better watch out, fam, because I'll bang you, you know. That's their response. Am I right? That's young people's response. But you can say, is everything okay? You're alright. Smile. Be nice. People don't know that in this culture today. All they know is about violence. Am I right? And they always respond to everything with violence. No. Many times an enemy can become a friend. Many times somebody who you didn't like, you can like them. Happened to me many times. I don't even know somebody, but I've seen them, or they're in my, in my social circle. I didn't like them. But then one day I took a moment out to listen to them and I'm like, hey, this guy's cool. This person's alright. So by making your enemies your friends, not trying to be harsh to them. Another thing is to trust in Allah. For whoever trusts in Allah, He is sufficient for them. This tawakkul, brothers and sisters, is difficult. When you have no money, what's the first thing we do? Start crying tears. I need money, man. I don't know where to get money from. People start crying, or they resort to crime. It's interesting. Those people who got done for robbery, what did you need the money for? You ask them. It's just amazing. You robbed somebody, you broke into their house, you broke into their car. Were you starving that you needed that money? The sad thing, of the majority of people say, no. It was for drugs, it was to go out, it was to buy this latest jeans or trainers. It was something frivolous. Even in our country, we're blessed. If you have no money, nothing, go to social services. They say, look, my family got no money, nothing. They'll give you vouchers for Tesco's or Sainsbury's, £60, £100, depending on the members of your family. You have food. But our response, nah. You know, I will rob somebody, or rob something, or steal something, or do credit card fraud, or some kind of fraud. No, you don't need to. You rely upon Allah. Allah will open the way for you, subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. Also, to turn to Allah sincerely, and to love Him and be pleased with Him, and to repent to Him. Brothers and sisters, we underestimate the evil power of our sins. The evil of our sins, we underestimate them. Our sins have a powerful effect on us. We feel that if we sin, there's no repercussion. We always remember Allah. He's Al-Ghafur, Ar-Rahim, the oft forgiving, the most merciful. Am I right? We seem to also forget that He's Shadid al-Iqab, the one with severe punishment. We forget these verses as well. So it's important for us to repent, because that thing which we thought was minor, that's what the young people say when they do something, innit? It's minor. Or it's not that deep. Isn't it? When they do something, you just listen to rap. Ah, man, it's minor. It's not that deep. It is deep. It isn't minor. It's haram. You did it. Am I right? That's what we say to each other, innit? It's minor, innit? People say, ah, man, fam, it's minor. It's not that deep. It's very deep. Because you don't look at the big sins. We may not do the big sins. How are we going to do the big sins? You're not going to go to Sainsbury's, buy a bottle of vodka and drink it behind the bike sheds? No. But what you're going to do every day, you're going to watch a clip, watch a video, 2 videos, 3 videos. You start off with the Anashid. Start off with Maher Zain. Then you move to Deen Squad Khalid Siddiqui. Yes? Then you go for the real stuff. 21 Savage, Travis Scott, etc. Yes? And that's it, you graduated. And imagine every day you're listening to that, all the time you're listening to that. How many sins do you pick up listening to those people? Besides their behavior and their manners. How they dress, how they think, which they put in their records. So it's not surprising you may see a Muslim one day with one eye. He bought something that you could put on one of your eyes to see as you got one eye. Why did he do that? He saw Fetty Rap do it, so he followed him. Because most of us, unfortunately, are programmed like zombies. Master says up, where do we go? Up. Down, we go down. Our master be in the media. I've seen almost everything that the mushriks do, Muslims do it. Almost everything. And so, we have to repent, every single one of us. And this is one way that we may protect ourselves from the evil eye. We may protect ourselves from the evil eye. And also we have to realize that it's not befitting for us to waste our time thinking and being envious of somebody. Sitting there being jealous. My man's got new kicks, I ain't got new kicks. So we sit there being jealous. No. It's important for us to spend our time in that which is beneficial. I would like to stop there. Jazakumullah khair for being very patient with me. For 2 things. One is a question and answers and clarifications, if any are needed and if I can answer. But before that, to address an issue. Those of you who were here on Friday, I talked about Africa, our beloved motherland. And I gave a defense of Africa, which I'm proud of. However, there's something I realized as well. Some people in their mind, they think of something called black culture or African culture. Is there something called African culture? Think carefully of the question. Is there? Huh? What is there? What is there then? It's African cultures. The plural, yes? Why am I making this point? Unfortunately, today you have a trend amongst Muslims. In general, Muslims look at Islam through their culture. What we practice back home is what I practice now. But that's not what we judge. Our judge, our yardstick is the Prophet ﷺ. What the Prophet said and did is what we say and do. Not our culture, because our culture may change. But some people today, they may say, well, hey, I'm African or I'm black. Islam, of course, allows us, all of us, to have our different cultures. But we may get twisted and messed up by following a particular form of black culture. Now, because we're in a masjid, I won't use the term that I would use outside of the masjid. But can we call it negative culture or toxic culture? What do I mean? So some people say, yeah, I'm black, I've got my own culture, so I start listening to Fetty Wap. Or I start listening to Travis Scott. Or I start being like Cardi B. I wish I was over-exaggerating. How many clones do we see on YouTube? You have clones. People go onto YouTube pretending to sing these raps or these songs, sometimes dressing up like these people and looking stupid. But this is not what I was talking about in the khutbah. As Muslims, especially some of us, for example, are from Tanzania, for example, or from Zanzibar, or from Nigeria, or from Kenya, or Sudan. We have our own African culture. Why would I leave my African culture my ancestors have been upon for hundreds of years or thousands of years, and it has Islam in it, to follow some people who are ignorant? Why would I be, for example, Tanzanian, then you see me with sagging my trousers down? Why would I leave the good part of my culture for somebody who, unfortunately, like my forefathers, were slaves? Our forefathers were slaves. And through living in the West, developed a culture that helped them survive in the West. However, with that being said, we can see what's positive and negative, because we weigh things in the scale of Islam. So I'm not going to say, well, boy, you got your culture, I've got my culture, so it's okay to sag my trousers, or okay to have a ring in my nose or ring in my ears as a man, or for me to curse and swear, or for me to start talking about Henny all the time. First of all, it's not part of your culture. Why would you adopt? And this is the thing I failed to understand about us. Why is it all the good things we leave from Western culture? The good stuff, there's many good stuff, we leave that. And we take all the rubbish, negative stuff. If you look at Muslim kids today, are they taking the good stuff or the negative stuff? Negative stuff, isn't it? They want to be like some rapper they saw on, some rapper who talks about taking drugs in his videos. He doesn't even smoke, doesn't even drink. You have many of those rappers. You have some of the rappers who talk like Master P, all this ghetto stuff. He's rich. His family are rich. So they come out now with this presentation of negativity. They themselves don't adopt it, but they give it to you and you adopt it. And you do it in the name of culture. Brothers and sisters, that's not adopting culture. That's adopting stupidity. And so I think it's a very, very important point. Because we have some Muslims who do that. So we have something called Islamic rap. Islamic rap. And we have people who are born Muslims, into Islamic rap. And I ask you, if the Prophet ﷺ was alive, would he rap? I think a clean heart knows the answer to that question is no. Would the Prophet ﷺ teach the people rapping, how to spit bars? Of course not. Isa ﷺ is coming back. When he comes back, is he going to spit bars? Teach the people how to spit bars? We all know he's not going to do that. If that's the case, why are we doing it? Especially in the name of Islam. So I thought this was a very, very important point to bring up. Because this negative culture, you find, and I'm amazed, the person is Igbo or Yoruba or from Sudan is Donkalawi. He's Mahas. He has his own culture. Jettisons his culture out the window. Jettisons his Kiswahili culture out the window and adopts a negative culture. That negative culture, even people from that country, the educated black people don't adopt it. Educated, you ever seen an educated black person sagging his trousers down? Never. So all the negativity which those people who don't know better, who are blind, do, you find us copying them. And I thought this is a very, very important point. And what excuse do we have? We have no excuse. If you're from Tanzania, Zanzibar, Kiswahili, Mahas, whatever, you didn't go through slavery. If you're like ourselves, we went through slavery. We can understand why people are like that, because people are lost. They're deaf, dumb and blind. They don't know better. They grow up from a young age about music, drugs, women, men. That's what they grow up with. I ask you, in Sudan, do you grow up with that? Yes or no? No?
I don't know.
Most people know. You grow up with drugs, music, as a center part of your culture? No. Yes? Do you have, huh?
We don't understand.
You don't understand?
Yeah.
We grew up with Bob Marley. Bob Marley speaking about smoking weed. Did you have songs about, talking about smoking weed? No.
No.
The worst you had in Sudan was Bar Buddha. Yes? I worship her. You know Bar Buddha?
No.
No, you don't know Bar Buddha? Alhamdulillah. What about in Tanzania and Zanzibar? In Tanzania and Zanzibar, you have music that talk about smoking weed, sagging. You have drill music, kill, kill, stab, stab, murder, murder. You didn't have that. How then can somebody from parents from Zanzibar, from Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, city of peace, be on that negative culture? How did you do that? How did you throw away your good culture for something less than it? How? And so this is my point, brothers and sisters. I thought it was important to send that home. That, you know, we don't abandon our culture for other people's negativity. Especially people who don't know better. That negative culture, and you know every week, every time I speak here, I bang out against it. Because in our own community, we're against it. Our community, black community, is not going to go anywhere by listening to rappers and singers and dancers like Cardi B and Travis Scott. We're not going anywhere. Why? There's two types of people. And I will end with this, and forgive me for prolonging. And you have to ask yourself, brothers and sisters, what group you are. Either you're part of the problem. If the highlight for you, or your main focus, is Kylie Jenner's baby's name, you're part of the problem. Or you're part of the solution. That is, you're thinking about the Kitab and the Sunnah and calling people to it. No third party. You're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And we ask Allah to make us from those people who are part of the solution and not part of the problem. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.